The rain hammered down on folding tables and sagging balloons. Mud sucked at shoes. Kids screamed and laughed under the patio overhang while adults huddled near the cake table, trying to salvage the birthday party. My 8-year-old daughter Lily stood near the desserts, her pink dress already spotted with rainwater, clutching a paper plate with both hands. Then my sister Tessa's voice cut through the noise like a blade. Maybe if your mother fed you less cake, you wouldn't waddle around like a pig. I spun around just in time to see Tessa's manicured hand palm Lily's shoulder. Hard. The shove sent my daughter stumbling backward, arms windmilling, plate flying. She hit the puddle with a splash that sent brown water spraying across her dress, her hair, her face. The impact knocked the breath from her lungs. She sat there, stunned and gasping, water soaking through to her skin. Tessa threw her head back and laughed. Loud. Performative. Several of her friends joined in, phones already out, recording. Look at the little pig now, Tessa said, voice dripping with mock sympathy. All dirty where she belongs. I lunged forward and grabbed Lily under the arms, hauling her up. She was trembling, soaked through, tears mixing with muddy water on her cheeks. Around us, family members froze. Some smirked. Some looked away. Nobody said a word. My name is Olivia Bennett, and in that moment, standing in the rain with my sobbing daughter in my arms, I made a choice. Not rage. Not screaming. Something colder. Something methodical. I chose evidence. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel for more interesting revenge stories. I wrapped my jacket around Lily's shaking shoulders and led her toward the house. She pressed her face against my side, trying to muffle her sobs. Behind us, the party continued like nothing had happened. Tessa's laughter still echoed. Someone turned the music back up. Inside the bathroom, I peeled off Lily's ruined dress and wrapped her in towels. Her skin was cold. Her eyes were red and swollen. She wouldn't look at me. Mommy, she whispered. Why does Aunt Tessa hate me? The question broke something inside my chest. I knelt down and cupped her face in my hands. She doesn't hate you, sweetheart. She's just mean. And that's not your fault. But even as I said it, I knew it was bigger than that. This wasn't new. Tessa had been escalating for months. Little comments in the family group chat. Jokes about Lily's weight. Undermining me in front of our mother. She positioned herself as the responsible aunt, the one who told hard truths, while painting me as too soft, too permissive. Through the bathroom window, I could see people gathering their things, preparing to leave. Nobody came to check on us. Nobody knocked on the door to ask if Lily was okay. They all just pretended it was normal. Expected. Another Tessa moment that everyone would smooth over and forget by tomorrow. I dried Lily's hair and helped her into spare clothes from my car. Her hands still shook as she buttoned her shirt. That night, after I tucked Lily into bed, I sat in the dark living room with my phone. My hands were steady now. My mind was clear. I scrolled through social media and found exactly what I expected. Tessa had posted a video. But not the full video. Not the shove. Not the insult. Just a carefully cropped clip of Lily crying in the mud, looking messy and dramatic. The caption read, "Some parents don't teach manners. Sad to watch." The comments poured in. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years weighed in. Kids these days have no discipline. Poor Tessa, always cleaning up other people's messes. Maybe some tough love would help. I read every comment, screenshotted every single one. My sister had just handed me ammunition, and she didn't even know it. This wasn't about a puddle. This wasn't even about today. This was about power. This was about the pattern that had existed our entire lives. Our mother raised us in constant comparison. Tessa was the diamond. I was the duty. Tessa got ballet lessons and new dresses. I got extra chores and lectures about responsibility. Mom would say, Tessa has potential. You're the stable one. It sounded like a compliment. It meant I existed to make her life easier while Tessa got to shine. That dynamic never died. It just grew teeth. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I opened my laptop and started a document. At the top, I typed, evidence. Then I began filling it in. Screenshots of Tessa's post and every cruel comment. Photos I'd taken at the party before the shove, showing Lily happy and clean. Text messages from the past 6 months where Tessa made comments about Lily's eating habits, her clothes, her behavior. I'd ignored them before, tried to keep the peace. Now they formed a pattern. I remembered something else. Our neighbor Marcus had a doorbell camera that faced the backyard where the party happened. I texted him at midnight, apologizing for the late hour, asking if his camera had caught anything from this afternoon. His response came quickly. Saw the whole thing, Liv. I'm so sorry. Want me to send you the file? Yes. God, yes. The video arrived 10 minutes later. I watched it 3 times. Crystal clear footage. Tessa approaching Lily. The insult, loud and sharp. The deliberate shove. Lily's terrified face as she fell. Tessa's laughter. And in the background, family members watching, doing nothing. I saved it to 3 different locations. Cloud storage. External hard drive. USB stick hidden in my desk drawer. I wasn't taking any chances. By sunrise, I had 12 pages of documented incidents. Texts. Posts. Comments. Receipts for therapy sessions Lily started attending after Tessa ramped up her comments about her weight. Monday morning, I dropped Lily at school and watched her drag her feet toward the building. She'd barely spoken at breakfast. Barely touched her food. When I kissed her goodbye, she clung to me longer than usual. What if kids saw the video? She whispered. What if they think I'm bad? You're not bad, I said firmly. And anyone who says otherwise is wrong. But I could see the damage already taking root. My confident, joyful daughter was shrinking into herself. Tessa had done that. Not in one moment, but in dozens of small cuts over months, culminating in yesterday's public humiliation. After drop-off, I drove to my mother's house. I needed to see something for myself. Mom had mentioned months ago that Tessa was helping her with bills, because Mom's arthritis made it hard to manage paperwork. At the time, I'd been relieved. One less thing to worry about. Now I wondered what helping really meant. Mom answered the door in her bathrobe, looking tired. Olivia, I wasn't expecting you. Can I come in? She hesitated, then stepped aside. The house smelled like coffee and old carpet. Family photos lined the hallway, mostly of Tessa. Tessa's college graduation. Tessa's boutique opening. Tessa's engagement that fell apart but nobody talked about. There were 3 photos of me. All from childhood. Is Tessa here? I asked. She left an hour ago. Why? I wanted to talk about yesterday. Mom's expression hardened. Tessa didn't mean it, Olivia. You're being too sensitive. I stood in my mother's kitchen, watching her pour coffee like we were discussing whether instead of my daughter being humiliated and assaulted. She didn't offer me a cup. Lily's 8 years old, Mom. Tessa shoved her into a puddle and called her a pig in front of everyone. Tessa said Lily was running around wild, nearly knocked over the cake. She was just trying to stop her from causing a scene. That's not what happened. Well, you know how dramatic Lily can be. The casual dismissal hit like a slap. This was the pattern. This had always been the pattern. Tessa acted out, and everyone bent reality to excuse it. I was the responsible one. The one who understood. The one who kept quiet to keep the peace. Not anymore. I need to ask you something, I said, changing tactics. How much access does Tessa have to your bank accounts? Mom's face shuddered. That's none of your business. She told me she's helping with your bills. And she is. She's been wonderful about it. Unlike some people, she makes time for her mother. The dig landed exactly as intended. I worked full-time and raised Lily alone after my divorce. I couldn't drop everything to run errands or sit through Mom's afternoon television programs. Tessa, who owned a failing boutique with irregular hours, had that flexibility. Can I see your bank statements? I asked. Absolutely not. Tessa handles that now, and she's doing a fine job. I don't appreciate you questioning her when she's been nothing but helpful. I left my mother's house with my jaw clenched so tight my teeth ached. As I drove, my phone rang. The school. My stomach dropped. Ms. Bennett, this is Principal Rodriguez. I need you to come in. There's been an incident involving Lily. 20 minutes later, I sat in the principal's office while Lily hunched in the chair beside me, eyes red. Apparently, during recess, some fifth graders had seen Tessa's video. They'd surrounded Lily and started oinking at her, calling her Puddle Pig. When Lily tried to walk away, they followed. When she started crying, a teacher intervened. We've spoken to the children involved, Principal Rodriguez said. But I wanted you to know this happened. Lily seemed very upset. I want the video reported, I said. It's cyberbullying. An adult posted it to humiliate my daughter, and now it's affecting her at school. The principal shifted uncomfortably. If it was posted by someone outside the school district, our hands are somewhat tied. But we'll document this incident, and I can have our counselor check in with Lily. On the drive home, Lily stared out the window. I don't want to go back, she said quietly. To school. She nodded. Sweetheart, those kids were wrong. What they did was cruel and unfair. But Aunt Tessa said I have no manners. Maybe she's right. Maybe I am bad. I pulled over into a parking lot and turned to face her. Lily, look at me. You are not bad. You are kind and smart and funny. Aunt Tessa is the one with no manners. She's the one who acted badly. Not you. Never you. But I could see my words weren't landing. Tessa's poison had already spread too deep. That evening, after Lily fell into an exhausted sleep, I did something I'd set up years ago and never thought I'd use. When I'd helped Mom set up online banking, I'd added myself as a secondary user for emergencies. She'd forgotten. Or maybe she assumed I'd never look. I logged in. The account history loaded slowly, month by month. At first, everything looked normal. Social Security deposits, utility payments, grocery store charges. Then I started noticing other things. Transfers labeled care expenses, going to an account I didn't recognize. $50 here. $200 there. Sometimes $500. I cross-referenced the dates with my own records. These transfers didn't align with actual care expenses. Mom's medication was covered by insurance. Her house was paid off. Her living costs were modest. I dug deeper. Found duplicated charges. The same invoice paid twice from different accounts. Large purchases from boutique suppliers categorized as medical expenses. Over the past 8 months, nearly $18,000 had moved out of Mom's account into various places, all approved by Tessa. My hands shook as I took screenshots of everything. This wasn't helping with bills. This was theft. Tessa was systematically draining our mother's savings to prop up her failing business. I thought about confronting her directly. Then I thought about the video. About Lily crying herself to sleep. About years of being told I was too sensitive, too dramatic, too difficult. No. This time, I'd let the evidence speak. The next morning, I called Adult Protective Services. The woman who answered had a calm, professional voice that made me feel less crazy for making the report. I believe my sister is financially exploiting our elderly mother, I said. She has access to Mom's accounts and has been transferring money inappropriately. How old is your mother? 68. She has arthritis and has been relying on my sister to manage her finances. And you have evidence of inappropriate transfers? Yes. Screenshots, transaction records, duplicated charges. I can send everything. The woman took my information and explained the investigation process. It would be quiet at first. They'd review the evidence, possibly interview my mother, examine the financial records themselves. If they found cause for concern, they'd take action. One more thing, I said. My sister recently assaulted my daughter at a family gathering. I have video evidence. She also posted a video online that led to my daughter being bullied at school. Is that relevant? There was a pause. It establishes a pattern of behavior. Please include that in the documentation you send. After I hung up, I compiled everything into a single PDF. The bank statements, the screenshots, Marcus's doorbell footage, Tessa's social media post, the incident report from Lily's school, medical records showing Lily had started therapy for anxiety 3 months ago, right when Tessa's comments escalated. Every piece connected. Every piece painted the same picture. This wasn't about one bad day. This was systematic cruelty and exploitation. 3 days later, I got a call from an unknown number. When I answered, a man identified himself as Investigator Chen from Adult Protective Services. Ms. Bennett, we've reviewed the materials you submitted. I want you to know we're taking this seriously. We've already identified several concerning transactions. We'll be conducting interviews this week. Will my mother know I'm the one who reported it? Eventually, family members usually figure it out. But initially, we present ourselves as conducting routine checks on vulnerable adults. We don't reveal our sources unless legally required. What happens if you find evidence of exploitation? Depends on the severity. We can freeze accounts, recommend financial guardianship changes, or refer cases for criminal prosecution. Given what you've shown us, I expect we'll find sufficient cause for intervention. After we hung up, I felt something I hadn't felt in days. Hope. Not for revenge. Not for vindication. Just for protection. For Lily. For Mom. For the truth to finally matter more than keeping peace. That afternoon, my phone exploded with texts from family members. Apparently, Tessa had posted again. This time, a long, emotional rant about ungrateful family members who turn their backs when times get tough. About people who are jealous of success and spread lies out of spite. She didn't name me. She didn't have to. Everyone knew. The comments flooded in. Stay strong, Tessa. Some people are so toxic. Families should support each other, not tear each other down. I didn't respond. Didn't defend myself. Just screenshotted everything and added it to my evidence folder. On Thursday, Tessa showed up at my apartment. I watched through the peephole as she pounded on the door, her face twisted with rage. I know you're in there, Olivia. Open this door right now. I didn't move. Lily was at school. I was alone. There was no reason to engage. The state called Mom. They're investigating her finances. What did you tell them? More pounding. A neighbor's door opened down the hall. Mrs. Kim poked her head out, concerned. I will destroy you for this. Tessa screamed. You have no idea what you've started. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Audio only but clear. Her threats. Her rage. Her admission that she knew exactly why investigators were asking questions. After 10 minutes, she finally left. I heard her footsteps stomping down the stairs, then her car door slamming. Only then did I allow myself to shake. Mrs. Kim knocked softly. "Are you okay, honey? Should I call someone?" "I'm fine," I said, opening the door. "Thank you for checking. That's your sister, right? The one from the birthday video." My stomach clenched. "You saw that?" "My daughter showed me. She goes to school with Lily." Mrs. Kim's expression softened. "I'm so sorry. That was cruel. If you need anything, I'm in 3C. After she left, I sat on my couch and added the recording to my evidence file. Tessa was unraveling. Good. Let her rage. Let her threaten. Every outburst just proved the pattern. Friday afternoon, my phone rang. "Mom." I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "How could you?" Her voice was cold. "How could you report your own sister to the state?" "Mom, I reported financial irregularities. I was worried about you." "Worried? You're trying to destroy Tessa's life. Those people came to my house, asked horrible questions, made me feel like a criminal in my own home. They're just making sure you're protected." Protected from what? From my daughter who actually cares about me? Who actually spends time with me? You've always been jealous of Tessa. Always wanted to bring her down because you can't stand that she's successful and beautiful and… Mom, she's stolen $18,000 from you. Silence. Long and cold. "That's a lie." "I have bank statements. Transaction records. She's been moving your money into accounts for her boutique, charging you twice for the same invoices, categorizing personal expenses as your medical care. You're making this up because you're bitter. Because your life didn't turn out the way you wanted, and you can't stand that Tessa's thriving. Her boutique is failing, Mom. She's been using your money to keep it afloat. Get out of my life, Olivia. You and your daughter. I don't want to see either of you again." The line went dead. I sat there holding my phone, feeling hollow. Part of me had known this would happen. Part of me had hoped foolishly that evidence would matter more than favoritism. It didn't. That weekend, I took Lily to her dance class. She'd been doing ballet for 3 years, and it was one of the few places she still seemed like herself. But when we arrived, I noticed other mothers whispering and glancing our way. One of them, Patricia, approached me while Lily changed into her leotard. "Olivia, I need to tell you something. Tessa called me." My blood ran cold. "Why would she call you?" "She's volunteering for the spring recital committee. She mentioned she's concerned about Lily's emotional state, said she might not be stable enough to perform. She suggested we consider removing her from the lineup for her own well-being." "She said what?" Patricia looked uncomfortable. "I wanted you to hear it from me. Obviously, I'm not making any decisions without talking to you." But Tessa was very convincing. She said Lily's been having behavioral issues, that she's in therapy, that the stress of performing might be too much. I felt rage burning up my throat. Lily's in therapy because Tessa has been bullying her for months. She's been making comments about Lily's weight, undermining her confidence, and at a family party last weekend, she pushed Lily into a puddle and called her a pig. I have video evidence. Patricia's eyes widened. "Oh my God. I had no idea. Can I show you?" We stepped into a quiet corner, and I pulled up Marcus's video on my phone. Patricia watched it once, then asked to see it again. When it finished, her face was pale. "This is assault," she said quietly. "I know." "And you're saying this has been going on for months?" I showed her the screenshots, the comments, the therapy records, everything. Patricia was on the spring recital committee. She was also a social worker. After watching the evidence, she made 2 phone calls. One to the committee chair, recommending Tessa be removed from her volunteer position. One to her supervisor, asking about reporting requirements for child welfare concerns. "I have to file a report," she told me. What Tessa did constitutes abuse, and her attempt to isolate Lily from activities she loves is a red flag. "I understand," I said. And I did. Part of me was relieved someone else saw it too. Someone outside the family who wasn't conditioned to excuse Tessa's behavior. By Monday, Tessa had been removed from the recital committee. By Tuesday, Child Protective Services called me for an interview. They were kind, professional. They asked about Lily's well-being, about Tessa's access to her, about the pattern of behavior. I told them everything, showed them everything. They took notes, asked clarifying questions, and assured me they'd follow up. That evening, Tessa's rage reached a new level. She posted a long video on social media, crying, talking about how she was being persecuted for trying to help her family. How her own sister had turned everyone against her. How she was losing everything because of lies and jealousy. The comments were split this time. Some people still supported her, but others were starting to ask questions. What actually happened at that party? Why are state agencies involved? Something doesn't add up. The tide was shifting. Slowly. But it was shifting. 2 weeks later, I got a call from Investigator Chen. "Ms. Bennett, we've completed our preliminary investigation. We found sufficient evidence of financial exploitation to recommend immediate intervention. Your mother's accounts will be frozen temporarily, and we're recommending a financial conservatorship hearing." What does that mean? A court will review the evidence and potentially appoint someone to manage your mother's finances. Given your sister's actions, she won't be eligible. The court may appoint you, or they may appoint a neutral third party. Will there be criminal charges? That's up to the district attorney. We're forwarding our findings to their office. What your sister did constitutes elder financial abuse. The DA will decide whether to prosecute. After we hung up, I sat in my car outside Lily's school, processing. This was really happening. Tessa's carefully constructed image was crumbling. Not because I'd screamed or fought or played her game. Because I'd documented the truth and let it speak for itself. That afternoon, I got a text from my cousin Marina. We'd been close as kids but drifted apart. "I saw the doorbell footage," she wrote. "I'm so sorry I believed Tessa's version. What she did was horrible. Please tell Lily I'm sorry." Then another cousin. And another. People who'd commented on Tessa's original post were now deleting their responses, sending private apologies. The truth was spreading faster than Tessa's lies ever had. The conservatorship hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks out. In the meantime, Mom's accounts remained frozen. She could access money for necessities, but large transfers required court approval, which meant Tessa's pipeline had been cut off. Her boutique started crumbling immediately. Suppliers demanded payment. Rent came due. Without Mom's money subsidizing everything, the business couldn't survive. Tessa tried to salvage it with a GoFundMe. Help a small business owner recover from family betrayal, she called it. She described herself as a victim of jealous relatives spreading lies, of false accusations destroying her reputation, of a struggling business brought down by vindictive family members. She raised $300. The comments were brutal. People had done their research. They'd found the doorbell footage. They'd seen the original post about Lily. They'd connected the dots. "This woman pushed a child into a puddle and called her a pig," someone wrote. "Then stole from her elderly mother. She's not a victim. She's an abuser." The post got shared dozens of times. Local news picked it up. Local boutique owner under investigation for elder abuse. Tessa's face was plastered across the internet, no longer as the successful entrepreneur, but as an alleged criminal. I didn't share it, didn't comment, just watched as the consequences she'd built caught up to her. The conservatorship hearing arrived on a gray Tuesday morning. I wore my best professional outfit and brought 3 binders of evidence. Mom attended, looking small and confused. Tessa wore designer clothes I now knew were purchased with Mom's money. The judge reviewed the investigator's report first. Then our attorney presented the evidence. Bank statements showing irregular transfers, duplicated invoices, boutique expenses categorized as medical care, 8 months of systematic exploitation totaling over $18,000. Tessa's lawyer tried to argue it was a misunderstanding, that Mom had given permission for all transfers, that this was a family disagreement being weaponized. Then the judge asked Mom directly, "Mrs. Stone, did you authorize your daughter to use your funds to pay for boutique inventory?" Mom hesitated, looked at Tessa. She said it was for my care. Did you know the money was going to business expenses? I trusted her to handle my bills. That's not what I asked. Did you know? No, Mom said quietly. I didn't know. The judge's expression hardened. She reviewed more documents, asked more questions. Finally, she ruled. I'm appointing Olivia Bennett as temporary financial conservator for Patricia Stone. All accounts will remain frozen except for a monthly allowance managed by Ms. Bennett. Tessa Stone is prohibited from accessing any of her mother's funds pending further investigation. This court will reconvene in 6 months to review the arrangement. Tessa's face went white. You can't do this. I just did. This hearing is adjourned. Outside the courthouse, Tessa cornered me by my car. You've destroyed everything, she hissed. My business, my reputation, my relationship with Mom. I hope you're happy. I didn't destroy anything, I said calmly. You did. I just documented it. You were always jealous, always resented me. This is just revenge. No, Tessa. This is protection. You stole from our mother. You assaulted my daughter. You tried to isolate her from activities she loves. Every consequence you're facing, you earned. Mom will never forgive you. Maybe not, but at least her savings will be there when she needs them. Tessa's hands balled into fists. For a moment, I thought she might actually hit me. Then someone cleared their throat behind us. A man in a suit, holding a folder. Tessa Stone? I'm with the district attorney's office. We need to speak with you about charges being filed. Her face drained of color. Charges? Elder financial abuse, fraud, and identity theft. You'll be receiving a summons to appear before a grand jury. I got in my car and drove away, leaving Tessa standing there, finally facing what she'd done. Over the next few weeks, everything shifted. The DA's office moved forward with criminal charges. Tessa's boutique closed permanently, the inventory seized to pay debts. Her landlord sued for back rent. Former friends distanced themselves. Mom remained cold toward me, but she was living safely in her home with proper oversight of her finances. The conservatorship was working. Her bills were paid. Her savings were rebuilding. She was protected, even if she resented me for it. Lily slowly started to heal. The kids at school who'd bullied her had been disciplined. Their parents apologized. Lily's therapist said she was making progress, rebuilding the confidence Tessa had tried to destroy. The dance recital approached. Lily was nervous. What if I mess up? She asked the night before. Then you mess up, I said. But you'll still be brave for trying. And I'll still be proud of you. The recital was beautiful. Lily danced with a grace and confidence I hadn't seen in months. When she took her bow, she smiled. really smiled. The audience applauded, and I cried. Afterward, in the dressing room, Lily looked at herself in the mirror. We'd started a ritual weeks ago. Every morning, she apologized to herself for believing the mean things people said. Today, she did it again. I'm sorry I believed her, Lily whispered to her reflection. I'm not a pig. I'm not bad. I'm just me. And you're perfect, I added. 3 months after the hearing, I sat in a lawyer's office reviewing the final conservatorship report. Mom's finances were stable. Her debts were cleared. Her savings were growing again. The judge would likely make my conservatorship permanent, with regular audits to ensure everything remained proper. My lawyer, Ms. Reed, closed the folder. You did the right thing, Olivia. It took courage. It didn't feel courageous. It felt necessary. That's usually when courage matters most. Outside, I checked my phone. Marina had texted photos from a family gathering I wasn't invited to. Mom was there, looking healthier than she had in months. Several cousins who'd apologized were there. Tessa wasn't. How's your mom doing? Marina had written. She seems better. The conservatorship is helping, I replied. She's stable. For what it's worth, people are starting to see the truth. About what Tessa did. About what you protected Mom from. It just takes time. Maybe. Or maybe some people would always choose the comfortable lie over the difficult truth. Either way, it didn't matter anymore. I'd done what needed doing. The rest was out of my hands. That evening, Lily and I cooked dinner together. She chatted about school, about dance, about a new friend she'd made. She laughed. The sound filled our small apartment with light. This, I thought. This is what mattered. Not vindication. Not apologies. Just this. My daughter is safe and happy and free from cruelty. The grand jury indicted Tessa on 3 counts: elder financial abuse, fraud, and identity theft. The trial was set for fall. The DA's office called me to say I'd likely be called as a witness. Will I have to see her? I asked. Yes, but you'll be testifying about what you observed and documented. The evidence speaks for itself. I thought about that. Evidence speaking. That's all I'd ever wanted. Not revenge. Just truth given a voice. Tessa's lawyer reached out offering a plea deal. If Mom and I agreed not to pursue civil damages, Tessa would plead guilty to reduced charges. Probation instead of prison time. Restitution paid over 10 years. I discussed it with Mom through her new attorney, since she still wouldn't speak to me directly. To my surprise, she agreed. I don't want my daughter in prison, she told her lawyer. But I want my money back. The plea deal was finalized. Tessa would pay restitution, complete probation, and perform community service. She'd have a criminal record. Her reputation was destroyed. But she wouldn't go to prison. Some people said I should have pushed for harsher punishment. But I wasn't trying to destroy Tessa. I was trying to stop her from destroying others. The legal system had done that. She couldn't access vulnerable people's finances anymore. She couldn't volunteer around children. She was, in every way that mattered, contained. 6 months after the Puddle incident, Lily's anxiety had decreased significantly. Her therapist said she was processing the trauma healthily, learning that other people's cruelty wasn't her fault or her burden to carry. We'd started looking at new apartments. Somewhere with more light. Closer to Lily's school. A fresh start in a space that wasn't connected to the hardest months of our lives. I found a perfect townhouse near the beach. 2 bedrooms, a small yard, windows that let in morning sun. It was more expensive than our current place, but I'd gotten a promotion at work. My boss had noticed how I handled the crisis with my family, the documentation, the calm professionalism. You don't panic, she'd said. You solve problems. That's valuable. The day we signed the lease, Lily ran through the empty rooms, her voice echoing off the walls. Can I paint my room? She asked. Can I pick the color? Any color you want, I promised. She chose yellow. Bright, sunny yellow. Like happiness, she explained. We moved in over a weekend. Marina and Patricia helped. Mrs. Kim brought food. It felt like building something new. Not just a home, but a life. One where we were surrounded by people who saw us, really saw us, and chose to stay. Mom's health improved under the conservatorship. Regular meals. Bills paid on time. No stress about mysterious account transfers. Her doctor said her blood pressure had stabilized. She was sleeping better. She still didn't speak to me directly, but she'd started sending messages through her attorney. Thank you for handling the utility bill. The gardener you hired is doing well. Small acknowledgments that felt like cracks in a wall. I didn't push, didn't demand forgiveness or recognition, just continued managing her affairs with the same meticulous care I'd used to document Tessa's abuse. Every transaction recorded, every decision justified, every penny accounted for. The 6-month review hearing arrived. The judge reviewed my reports, interviewed Mom, and spoke with the state investigator. Ms. Bennett has managed her mother's affairs responsibly and transparently, the judge concluded. I'm making this conservatorship permanent, with annual reviews. Mrs. Stone's finances are stable and secure. Mom looked small in the courtroom. Old. I'd been so focused on the battle that I'd forgotten she was the real victim here. Not me. Not even Lily. Mom, who'd trusted her daughter and been betrayed. After the hearing, I approached her carefully. Mom, I know you're angry with me, but I hope someday you'll understand. I was trying to protect you. She looked at me for a long moment. Her eyes were tired, rimmed with the kind of sadness that comes from shattered illusions. I know, she said finally. Her voice was barely a whisper. I didn't want to believe it. About Tessa. About what she'd done. It was the first time she'd spoken directly to me in months. I felt something loosen in my chest. She was always my bright star, Mom continued. I thought I was helping her shine. I didn't realize I was dimming you in the process. Her hands trembled as she clutched her purse. I'm sorry, Olivia, for all the years I made you small so she could feel big. I hadn't expected an apology. Hadn't even hoped for one. Thank you, I managed. Can I see Lily? She asked. I miss my granddaughter. We started slowly. Sunday dinners at my new townhouse. Mom would sit at the table while Lily chattered about school and dance. At first, Lily was cautious, remembering how Grandma had defended Aunt Tessa. But children forgive more easily than adults. Within weeks, they were laughing together again. Mom never made excuses for Tessa. Never tried to minimize what had happened. She simply existed in the present, helping Lily with homework, admiring her dance trophies, being the grandmother she should have been all along. One Sunday, as Mom was leaving, she paused at the door. You were always the strong one, she said. I just didn't have the courage to admit I needed your kind of strength more than Tessa's kind of shine. A year after the Puddle incident, Lily performed in her dance recital's lead role. She'd auditioned against older girls and won on merit. As I watched her command the stage, confident and radiant, I thought about how far we'd come. Tessa was working retail in another city, rebuilding her life away from the wreckage of her reputation. I heard updates through Marina. She was in therapy, working through whatever had driven her to hurt people she should have loved. I hoped she'd find peace, but it wasn't my responsibility anymore. Mom lived independently with my oversight, her health stable, her finances secure. She'd started attending Lily's recitals and school events, cheering louder than anyone. The relationship we were building wasn't perfect, but it was honest. That mattered more. The doorbell footage that started everything had been taken down from social media, but I kept a copy. Not as a weapon, as a reminder. A reminder that documentation matters. That quiet strength is still strength. That protecting the vulnerable, even when it costs you relationships, is always the right choice. After the recital, Lily and I walked along the beach near our townhouse. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. She held my hand, something she'd stopped doing for a while but had started again. "Mom," she said, "I'm glad you didn't let Aunt Tessa keep being mean." "Me too, sweetheart." At school, they taught us that sometimes being strong means being loud. But you were quiet, and you were still strong. I squeezed her hand. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is tell the truth and let it work. We walked in comfortable silence, waves rushing over our feet. I thought about everything we'd survived. The humiliation, the betrayal, the family fractures. And I thought about everything we'd built. A safe home, healing relationships, confidence restored. People used to call me the quiet one. The dutiful one. The one who didn't make waves. They mistook quietness for weakness, documentation for obsession, boundaries for coldness. They were wrong. I wasn't weak. I was strategic. I wasn't obsessed. I was thorough. I wasn't cold. I was protective. And when someone hurt my daughter, I didn't scream or rage or play their game. I simply collected evidence, told the truth, and let justice follow its course. Tessa had tried to make Lily small, the way she'd always made me small. She'd wielded cruelty like a weapon, backed by years of family patterns that rewarded her shine and dismissed my steadiness. But she'd forgotten something crucial. Quiet people aren't powerless. We're patient. We watch. We remember. We document. And when we finally act, we don't need to raise our voices. The truth is loud enough. As Lily and I climbed the steps to our townhouse, the yellow walls of her room visible through the window, I realized something. This wasn't a story about revenge. It was a story about protection, about refusing to let cruelty become normal, about teaching my daughter that dignity matters more than keeping peace. Tessa had called Lily a pig and pushed her into a puddle, expecting silence, expecting compliance, expecting me to smooth it over like I'd smoothed over everything else for years. Instead, she got receipts, documentation, consequences, and the hard lesson that some people aren't weak, they're just gathering evidence. We lived now in light and warmth, free from the weight of others' expectations. Mom joined us for dinner, apologizing to Lily in her own way by simply being present and kind. The family members who'd rushed to Tessa's defense had grown quiet, some apologizing, others just fading away. I didn't need their apologies. I had something better, a daughter who knew her worth, a home filled with peace, and the certainty that I'd done exactly what needed to be done. They'd called my daughter a pig. Now we lived free, warm, and loved, proof that dignity and documentation are the best revenge.